Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Release to Rise podcast. I am your host, Kate Patra, and I'm super excited for today's episode. I polled people on my Instagram at kate.patra to ask what they wanted to hear about. And today it's all about relationships, particularly how trapped energies can negatively impact relationships. So if you're called to listen to this, make no mistake, it is not a mistake. You are here because there's something that you are meant to hear for yourself or for someone in your life. I'm going to explain things the way I've experienced them, the way I see them on a day to day basis with the people I work with, and hopefully it will make sense to you. These topics, these energies, the things that we're going to discuss, kind of game changers. Once I realized how my stuck energy impacted all of my relationships, not just romantic relationships, but any relationship, it really changed my perspective on how I see things and how I interact with the world and what I bring into my world. So I'm super excited to get into it. But first, I want to just kind of go through what I do because I'm going to break down different types of trapped energies throughout the three different levels of work that I do. Before I even do that, I got to explain to you what I do. So there's a couple things with the energy work that I do. First of all, there's three different levels. There is emotion code, there's body code, and there's belief code. Emotion code was kind of the first start of this work from Dr. Bradley Nelson, the creator of this work. He was a chiropractor. He honed this emotion code within his own chiropractic practice on his patients. What emotion code includes is trapped emotions, these things called compound traumas and heart walls, essentially any trapped energy that is solely focused on our emotions. You then have body code. Body code includes emotion code, so it includes all the things that are trapped emotionally, but then it expands. It expands into things like pathogens and toxins, our organs, our glands, our systems, our nutrition, our meridians, our chakras, misalignments, and different imbalances on a physical level, and also some brain programming. Not necessarily belief code, which I'll get into, but kind of the start of like tweaking the programming that's within our brain. Body code includes emotion code. Okay? You with me? Stay with me, people. I know we're getting into the weeds, but you need to know this in order to understand what we're going to talk about. So, the top level, I guess you can say, by the way, nothing is better or worse. Either way, we're getting rid of trapped emotions, and that's amazing, and that's what we want. So, don't want you to think one's better than the other. It's all about where our energy is and what's going to come up for you and what your body can handle in terms of a release. I digress. Belief code. Belief code is a little bit different than body code and emotion code in that it solely deals with our subconscious programming. And so I will decode negative programs and limiting beliefs and all these other things that are ingrained within our subconscious that our subconscious deems as true, and then I will release them. And so what we're doing is we're rewiring the subconscious essentially with belief code. Now, with belief code, there are things in there that will include body code and emotion code. So see how they all kind of stack up on top of each other and they include each other. Emotion code first, then body code, then belief code. They're kind of like those stacking, the hell were those things called? Those little like dolls that stacked within each other. That's kind of the visual I'm getting when I explain it. My job as a practitioner is to go in and to use muscle testing, which that's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother time. But I go in and I use muscle testing to figure out what your body needs to release energetically. What you will find the more I talk about this work and the more we get into the weeds of this work, because it's super interesting, is that anything can cause anything. I work with people who have all sorts of different struggles, all sorts of different symptoms, anything from cancer to digestive issues to blocks in relationships to blocks in love to blocks in business, blocks making money, not feeling safe in your body. I mean, you name it. We work on it all. Really, honestly, anything. You can work on anything, any traumas that you have, big traumas, little traumas, it doesn't matter. We can release it. And what I do is I muscle test and see what energies your body can release at that time of our session. Now, when we release energies, essentially it's like layers of an onion. We're going to release a set of energies. It's going to raise your vibration. And then more energy is probably going to surface to release because we're just imbalanced human beings walking around this marble trying to live our best lives. The reason energy gets stuck in our systems, in our fields, is because we are imbalanced in some sort of way. When we were designed and when we were created so that our bodies could essentially heal themselves. But what happens is that no one really predicted for all the stuff and all the madness that's going on in our world. Think pollution, EMFs, blue lights, our electromagnetic frequency are kind of getting barraged with a lot of different stimuli that we'd never had before. All right, think of foods, processed foods, chemicals, all that type of stuff very much impacts our system. And it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing that you need to be like hyper vigilant of. Awareness is great, but just know we're just all imbalanced. We also can get imbalanced when we're going through something physical, when we're going through something emotional. So think grief, heartache, that type of thing. Just know it's not like a better than, worse than. We're all imbalanced. We're all just walking around imbalanced. When I talk about these energies getting stuck within our fields and within our systems, within our bodies, we're all there. We all have stuck energy. Guarantee if something resonates with you, you have that stuck energy within your system. And I can help you release it if you'd like. I hope that gives you an overview. I mean, it's real general, but I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of what I do, because what I'm going to explain to you is the different types of heavy hitters in each area, in emotion code and body code and belief code. We're going to talk about the heavy hitters that impact our relationships. When I'm talking about impacting our relationships, I'm not only talking about current relationships, but people who want certain relationships. So blocks to love, blocks to friendship. There's a lot of us that walk around with a sister wound, with like female friendships, that type of thing. It's just very common, right? And there's energetic reasons why we can struggle in our relationships, either forming them, keeping them, or having them be what you want them to be. Okay, so buckle up, because this one's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to explain it the way I've experienced it in my own personal sessions and the way I see it with people I work with. And just remember throughout this whole episode that anything can cause anything. Because even though I'm going to give you the heavy hitters, there is so much more energy behind the scenes that impacts our relationships. There's also energetic universal laws. I mean, you name it. We're going to try to cover it all. Okay, let's first chitty chat about the foundational piece, emotion code. In emotion code, we have what I was referring to as trapped emotions, compound traumas, and heart walls. Trapped emotions are essentially exactly what it sounds like. They are energetic frequencies of emotions that get stuck within our energetic field. When we have trapped emotions, we are more likely to either feel that emotion more often, or when we feel it at a heightened level. So I'll give you an example unrelated to relationships, but also very related to relationships in my world. Anxiety. Okay. You know how we all have like an emotion that is our go-to emotion? Mine, overwhelm and anxiety. I will get overwhelmed over absolutely nothing. My logical brain will be like, listen, Kate, you're fine. You have 2 things to do today. Guaranteed you can handle it. And yet my mind is like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do today. And I stress the F out over nothing. And my logical brain knows this, but it's like my body can't catch up. It's like my body didn't get the memo. As I started to do this work, it is no surprise on me that I had a significant amount of trapped emotions of both anxiety and overwhelm. And I often feel like for me, those two go hand in hand. Because they were in my energetic field, they were ringing throughout my field, and they were stuck within my system in different organs and glands and different areas of my body wasn't able to operate as optimally as it could. And so when I would feel this anxiety and when I would feel this overwhelm, I would just get heightened and I wouldn't be able to calm my body down. That's what happens to all of us when we have specific trapped emotions. The biggest heavy hitters that really negatively impact our relationships, either the ones that we have, now keep in mind this could be with your parents, with your siblings, with friends, it could also be in your romantic life, is a trapped emotion of, there's 2 actually. A trapped emotion of effort unreceived and love unreceived. And here's what those two mean. Effort unreceived. You bust your butt, you do everything possible. And I'll give you an example. As a special education teacher, I busted my ass every day. I showed up, I was dedicated, I was there for the kids. There was multiple times during a week where these things that called planning periods, you would have them, but I wouldn't have them because I had kids in my room where they needed a test read to them, or they needed some sort of test accommodation. They needed some sort of service that I was the program manager, so I had to provide that. So even though I was teaching 5 classes and there were 8 periods a day, there were 3 periods that I should have had free to either do paperwork, test kids, do all the other things, plan lessons. And there were weeks and months where I would not have those 3 planning periods. Okay. I still showed up. I did everything I could to help the kids, right? All of this to say I was putting in maximum effort, guys, maximum effort. And yet I kept feeling like no one was appreciating it. Especially towards the end of my career, I kept feeling like administration was thinking that I wasn't doing enough, that colleagues were looking at me going, what do you do all day? And I was like, well, damn, what do I not do all day? That was a reflection to me of a trapped emotion that was in my field. Well, multiple trapped emotions that were in my field and in my body, my organs, my glands, my systems. Because I had that trapped emotion of effort unreceived within my body, and I had multiple of them, I was more likely to feel like all of the things I was working hard for, everything I was busting my butt for, no one was appreciating. Now, was that accurate? No. But that's what I was putting out there. And so that's what was reflecting back to me. I wasn't seeing the people who were appreciating it. I wasn't seeing the colleagues who were supportive. I wasn't seeing that. I was only seeing what was radiating within my energetic field. In romantic relationships, this can surface as you do everything for your partner. You're like, man, I made him lunches this week, and I mowed the lawn, and I did the laundry, and all that on top of work, and you don't feel like your partner appreciates it. That very much could be tied to that trapped emotion in your field of efforts unreceived. Does that mean your partner actually does not appreciate it? No, but he's reflecting or she's reflecting to you what is within your system. Love unreceived, that's a huge blocker to relationships. When we have the trapped emotion of love unreceived in our current relationships, what can happen is we will not feel loved by a parent, a sibling, a partner, a friend, a colleague, whoever. Again, that is our perception. That does not mean it's truth, but our perception is powerful. When we don't have a partner and we have the trapped emotion of love unreceived, it completely blocks it from coming in. Because when we have a trapped emotion of love unreceived, it means our love is not being received. It literally means that. That is the script that is being written in our creator field. And if you don't know what our creator field is, shoot to the previous episode. I think it was the last one where I talked all about the creator field, but I'll give you the quick cliff notes. Our creator field essentially is our energetic electromagnetic field around us, and it's almost like a script or a blueprint to how we live our life. And it's created by our beliefs that we think on a daily basis, the actions we take or don't. And what happens is we kind of hand this script out to people, and they will then fill their role in our movie. If we have a trapped emotion of love unreceived within our system, guarantee we have more than one, but if we even at least have one, then what people are going to do is they're going to go, oh, okay, that's the role we need to play. That's what's in this movie. That's what's in this script. That's the blueprint to this person. So let's give them what they want. You don't even know this energy is trapped in there, and you're wondering why these patterns are repeating. This is why. So love unreceived is a huge one. It blocks us from feeling what we want to feel. And it also blocks us from the love that's actually coming in, because love is coming in. It's just within our energetic fields and within our creator fields and within our bodies and our systems and our organs and our glands, we're not able to fully receive it because of these trapped energies. So we got to get them out of there so that we can then see the world in a more accurate light. There's another emotion that's huge, or I guess I should say another form or type of energy that's huge in emotion code, and that is heart walls. I'll kind of give you an explanation of what they are. Man, do they block us from having the relationships we want, both the current relationships and people coming in. Heart walls actually form and have a positive purpose in a moment. When we're going through something, think grief, heartache, something pretty significant and emotional that our body can't fully process. And it's going to happen, right? We're going to be imbalanced. Our body can't fully process it. What happens is your heart will pull from either existing trapped emotions or existing energies, or it will create new, and it'll create an energetic wall around your heart. And it protects it in that moment because you're going through something so significant, so absolutely detrimental that your body's like, your heart can't process this right now. We're going to protect it and then let you process it as you get a little bit away from this event or this experience. Here's where heart walls become a problem. Heart walls go up, they protect us in the moment. But if we do not process them, they stay up. And they can cause a wide variety of symptoms, feeling more negative emotions and positive emotions. Heart wall symptom can be feeling really disconnected from others. That feeling of being in a room full of people and you're just not feeling connected to anyone. There's a real sense of loneliness. Have you guys ever had that? I know I have. It's just like this real disconnection from other people. Sometimes for heart walls, you can be unmotivated. You can be kind of stuck in your comfort zone. You can sabotage yourself. Overall, the biggest symptom of a heart wall is just that disconnection, that inability to feel positive emotions, and really feeling alone. If we have these heart walls up, then they will block love from coming in from the people in our world and from the people who want to be in our world. Our energy will very much dictate the experiences and people and events that come into our world. If you have a heart wall up, then it's going to block you from truly feeling loved. And I'll give you an example of this in my own life. I've had several experiences in my life that have been pretty significantly jarring. And I guess until recently, I never really thought that it was abnormal. I just really didn't. I was like, didn't everybody go through this? Apparently not, people. Apparently not. I'll give you one example of the jarring things because, that could also be a whole nother episode. And if you want the deets on that, let me know. Be glad to spill. As I told you guys, I'll be an open book. But for example, when I was, how old was I? 18, 19? It was my sophomore year in college. My best friend committed suicide. And in that moment, you best guarantee a heart wall went up because I was going through something that I didn't even know how to handle. I'm 19 years old. It's unfathomable at any age. And when you're younger and you haven't been through a significant amount of life, although I had at that point, but I hadn't been through this, it's jarring. So it's jarring enough to imbalance your energy, and that's when a heart wall formed. My heart wall protected myself. Well, I started working with my practitioner before I became certified. So this was years ago. And sure enough, I had a heart wall come up, a significant thickness, because there's different sizes of heart walls. And sure enough, it was related to October of that year that my friend had killed himself. And it's no coincidence that I also was struggling to kind of feel and I remember it clear as day in that session because I was struggling to feel loved and connected with anyone. And I was, guys, I was married at the time. Like, it wasn't like I was single and alone. I was married and my husband adores me. I know this man loves me. I know logically this man loves me. But because I had this heart wall up, he could sit there and tell me how much he loved me, why he loved me. He could shower me with kisses and affection and whatever my love language was. And it still was not hitting. It wasn't registering. It was like, okay, you say that, but are you sure? Or in my head, there was a part of me that would discount what he was saying, which BT dubs is a total insult to him, by the way, but I didn't know any better. I didn't understand that this was my energy blocking my heart. I had no clue until I started working with my own practitioner. And then, wow, were my eyes blown open. Since then, I've done specific sessions, energy sessions on myself where I solely chip away at my heart wall. And guys, I released 10 or 12 in one session. And then as I process the energy out and as I process these heart walls out, I will tell you, which I'm so due for another session where I clear away more heart walls because I can feel the symptoms coming back of like that disconnection and the negative emotions. I felt so much more positive. I felt when my husband would say to me, I love you so much, and shower me with compliments, I actually was like, believe in it. I was like, dang, that man really loves me. It wasn't just my logical brain, it registered within my body too, my heart too. So just know that if you have trouble in relationships or you feel lonely or you feel more negative than you should, or you quote unquote think you should, because I don't like shooting on anyone, but if you do feel more negative and you do feel more disconnected and you do feel like you're just stuck, it could be heart walls. And we can clear those. We can clear those bad boys. And then you will feel so much lighter. I promise. So those are a couple things in emotion code that can really hinder our relationships, both current and the ones we want to come in. Now, body code was hard to pick just a few because there's a lot, people. There is a lot that comes in and blocks us and impacts us, but I will do my best. I'm just going to give you the biggest, the most common, I should say. All right. I don't even know which one to start with. Oh, they're so fun. Okay, I'll start with the most basic, the easiest one to understand. Chords. Here's what a chord is, and we all have them. A chord is an energy that gets sent from another person, never with ill intent. All right, it's never sent with a malicious reason. But what happens is a chord will come from one person, it'll chord into the other person, and either that person who sent it was imbalanced in some sort of way, or the person who received it was imbalanced in some sort of way, and this positive exchange of energy turned negative. Now, when we have chords with people, we can either become more codependent on them, which is not a healthy relationship, right? Or you can become more irritated with them. So who do we have chords with? Guarantee you have them with your parents. Doesn't have to be biological parent. You have them with whoever was a parent figure in your life. Siblings, spouses, partners, colleagues. We're all corded up with one another. And it's just a fact of life. But when we have these chords, again, they can make us more reliant on people, which isn't a healthy place to be, or they can make us more irritated with people. Those are the easiest, simplest things to decode, release, and make a significant improvement. Then we have these things called broadcast messages. I can't remember if I've talked about reflections before in other episodes, but I'll give you a rundown of them because broadcast messages and reflections pretty much go hand in hand. Essentially, here's what it is. A broadcast message is a message that comes from the outside, and what it does is it gets stuck in our subconscious. And our subconscious picks it up and goes, ooh, that's true. And so that filter gets toggled on. Remember, we talked about subconscious filters and how they get toggled on, right? And which we'll talk about more in belief code. But then what happens is your subconscious is like a radio tower and it beacons out this message. And when it beacons out this message, it very much impacts the people, the situations, the experiences, and the events that come into your world. You can have broadcast messages like, people don't want me. Leave or abandon me. I am unworthy. No one cares. I mean, there's a whole slew of a list that I would muscle test and go through to see what is specific to you. But let's, for example, say people don't want me. All right, let's say that's a broadcast message. Okay, that filter gets turned on in your subconscious. And then your subconscious is like, I'm going to keep us alive. And I'm going to keep us alive by looking for people who don't want me, because that's what your subconscious does. The filters that get turned on, they constantly look for evidence to prove that that is true. That is how your subconscious keeps you safe, keeps you alive. Now, does that mean it's actually true? No, but your subconscious doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know the difference between real and imaginary. It doesn't know the difference between accurate and perception. Everything is deemed as truth in our subconscious. So in our radio tower, our broadcast message comes in of people don't want me, and our subconscious filter gets toggled on. You best believe your subconscious is going to be like, I'm on it. And it's going to start looking for evidence of people not wanting you. And what happens is then your brain is trained to see that. And so you miss all the people that do want you. You miss all the people that love you. And you only are focused on the people that don't want you. And that's what gets proved to you time and time again. And the more you think it, the more it becomes an ingrained belief that I'm going to have to get to with belief code in a minute. But it starts as simple as a broadcast message. It comes from the outside world, you're imbalanced in some sort of way, and your subconscious is like, whoop, that's true. Let's find the evidence. Same thing, if you think that you're unworthy, well, no one else is going to think you're worthy. So you're going to have a block in a relationship, whether that's bringing in a romantic partner or the friendships you want or a colleague that you want or the relationship you want with a parent or a sibling or whatever. Leave, abandon me, that one's going to just send people running. And you're going to think, why does this happen to me all the time? Anytime you have a pattern like that, I really encourage you to think about what the pattern is, because it very much could be something you're broadcasting out from your subconscious, and then it's getting reflected back to you. Remember, it's all about the creator field and what's in there. When broadcast messages like that are in our creator field, and that's the script that we're handing out, those messages are huge in impacting our relationships with people, whether bringing them in or the current ones we have. Then there's these other things that I wanted to mention, and I don't know why I'm called to mention it. I feel like I'm called to mention it because someone listening needs to hear this, because this is not as common of a one, but it's a big block to getting the relationships we want. And it's called memory fields. Memory fields, essentially what happens is you have a memory of a situation. Think of the events and experiences in your life where you're like, I remember what I was wearing. I remember where I was standing. I remember exactly how it felt. You know, the ones where you could replay all the deets. You could play all the deets like it was a movie. You could film it. You could know what the costumes were going to be because you remember every single thing that was said, how you felt, what you wore, where you were, when it happened, what time of day. You remember it all, right? That's a memory field. And memory fields, what happens is that energy, so it's like that whole picture of the memory gets stuck within our field. And it's almost like it kind of, I equate it to a rain cloud that follows us. And it's in front of our brow chakra, which is also kind of important because that's where our intellect is, our intuition, our big picture thinking. It hinders us from moving forward. And it hinders us from moving forward because whatever we felt in that situation, we are scared to feel again, or it is so ingrained within us and ringing within us that we're bringing it about again. So it could be one or the other. I'll give you an example. Guess I'm airing out all my dirty laundries. Anyways, all right, you're going to learn a lot about me. So high school, dated somebody from 16 through our first year of college. Then he broke up with me and then we got back together, which is also another whole story of why we got back together. But anyways, it's funny, by the way, when you look back at relationships, especially from so long ago when you're in high school, and you think about it from a new energetic perspective, and I'm like, oh, no wonder he did that or I reacted that way. We were all just playing off each other's energy and creator fields. But anyway, so he was my first true love. We dated through college, well, some of college until, it went south. And that heartbreak and the first time he broke up with me, I remember what time of night it was. Well, it was in the morning. It was 1 a.m. I remember I was in my kitchen. I remember we were on the phone. He tried to break up with me on the phone. And I was like, come say this to my face. And do you know that boy did? He got in his car and drove 20 minutes to my house. I remember having to go tell my parents that he was coming over. I remember the whole conversation. I remember him leaving. I remember bawling and my sister waking up and hugging me and consoling me and being the good friend that she was to me. I remember it all. So it was no surprise to me that that came in as a memory field. Now, a memory field like that, where it's your first significant heartbreak, is going to impact who you trust in your future, what you want in your future, and the relationships you bring in. Because if we don't feel safe and we don't feel trusting because of a memory field where we remember all of it, we're going to unintentionally push away the relationships that we want. I've since cleared that memory field, and that's why I bring it up as an example. I think it was like in 99 or 2000. I don't know. I mean, it's been a while. So now it's not that I haven't forgotten all the details, but I just see them and it's just very neutral. What happens when you clear those is you bring in more positive relationships, more positive energy, and it clears that energy out so that you just become more neutral about the memory. It doesn't erase it, but you're just like, this is what happened. And it's more of not a factual, it's just more neutral. Neutral's the best word to describe that. Memory fields very much can hold us back from bringing in the relationships that we want. And for whatever reason, I don't know why this is included in this, but as I was channeling to figure out what was in this episode, one of you needs to hear that. So take that for what it is. Those are the top 3 or the top 2 plus the memory field for body code. The energies and belief code that can hinder and impact our relationships. I mean, that would be a whole day of discussing it all because there's just so much to belief code and so many different ones. But I'll give you some examples. Keep in mind, with belief code, remember that is our subconscious programming. Remember what I talked about with the broadcast message. When we have an ingrained belief, either a negative program or a limiting belief, or these things called faulty core beliefs or faulty core identities, which I would explain to you if we had a session or whatever. But these things, the reason they get stuck in our field, it's just repeated statements and repeated beliefs over and over and over again. Also, a lot of what gets stuck in our field is between age 0 and 7 when our brains are sponges. We absorb the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So regardless of why it's in there, that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is it's in there. And so my job is to go in and use your subconscious to guide me to what needs to be released. If you were coming to me and you were like, I can't find love, I'm dying to have a partner in life, or I'm not happy in my marriage, or I'm not happy with this family member, or whatever, I guarantee there's going to be some subconscious programming that's going on and impacting that. For example, some of these things. Now remember, with these statements, it's toggling a filter on. So when that filter is on, regardless of if it is true or not, your subconscious is going to be like, there you are, beautiful truth. And it's going to look for all the evidence. For example, there is a negative program limiting belief of love is for everyone but me. Well, you best believe if you have that in your field and your subconscious filter is turned on for that, that is all you're going to see. And then you're going to miss out on the opportunities for love they're trying to get into your experience. They're trying to get into your energy, but your energy is going to block that. And I'm not saying this to scare you guys, because don't worry, I will never tell you anything scary without, obviously there's a fix and a remedy for that. But just know that if you're someone who's out in the dating world and you're like, what the hell is going on? I am trying so hard. I so much want this, which by the way, there's a whole other law of focus and universal law of balance that comes into play there. But if you have that filter on, you could just be subconsciously pushing it away and not even know it. Because remember, our subconscious is 95% of our thoughts. It really rules the show. Some other ones, he or she abandoned me. Nobody wants me around. That could even be on a friendship level. That could be something that got stuck in your field when you were a little kid and one of your siblings didn't want to play with you, but your subconscious deemed it as truth. And it's been ruling the show ever since. I can't be loved the way I am. That's a common one. Really, that feeling of like, you have to be this way in order to be loved. That's not going to bring in the type of relationship you want. Now, again, like we can do the energy work with this. You would have to do the emotional root cause stuff and some ingredient stuff, which we would do. That's a whole other discussion, and some physical action. But we would clear that first and then move forward. I can't let love in. I mean, that one's pretty straightforward. And then there's another one that's, relationships are not safe. A lot of people who struggle in their relationships, there's a feeling of a lack of safety. Either a lack of safety to be themselves, ask for what they want, speak up for themselves, advocate for themselves, authentically be loved. They don't feel like they can be. And so that comes down to feeling safe within yourself. If you don't feel safe to authentically be yourself, then you're not going to feel safe in relationships to authentically be yourself. These subconscious programmings, they're in our creator field, and that's the script we're handing out. So if relationships are not safe in our creator field, if that's a hole, and that's part of a role that people play, then you're going to bring in relationships that make you feel not safe. You're going to bring in relationships and events and experiences and circumstances where that is reflected back to you. These are just some of the things that can really impact our relationships. The other biggest thing, which I wasn't planning on getting into, but somebody needs to hear this, so I'm just going to explain it. There are a lot of people I work with who really want to find love in their life, and they're the most lovely people. These people are just gems of humans. They are the kindest people, the sweetest people, the most giving people that I've ever met. And yet they struggle to find a partner, to find a spouse, to find someone who really, truly loves them. And we often talk about this thing called the law of balance, the universal law of balance. There's an energetic law where if we really, really, really want something, what that tells our subconscious, because we want it so bad, we're really telling ourselves, I don't have this. And so that's what our subconscious hears. And now remember, our subconscious is very literal. When we really, really want, you're indirectly telling yourself, this is what you don't have. And this is what you can't have because you really, really want it. If you didn't have a place of want, or if you weren't coming from a place of want, you would be more neutral. It would let things in. I'll give you an example. If you are desperate to find the love of your life, that energy of want is going to push that person away. What we need to do is get you neutral. What I always suggest to people is think about how your life is perfect right now without your spouse, without your partner. Think of all the things. You get the remote, you get to eat dinner whenever you want, and you get to eat whatever you want. You make the plans that you want to do. You can get up and go to that Pilates class without waking somebody up. You can decorate however you want. You can have a dance party in your underwear if you want. You have ultimate freedom. And isn't that a great thing? So I try to bring about some of the positives, because then when you do that, it balances out that want. You're not so desperate to want. When we're desperately wanting, we're telling ourselves, I don't have, I can't have, and we're pushing it away. That's something that we really want to get neutral with. Learn to love your life exactly the way it is, and then that will open up the energetic space for someone else to come in, because that want is no longer there, pushing it away. I know I have yapped about a lot. And I guess the whole point of this episode is to really explain to you that if you're someone who's struggling in a relationship or struggling to have the relationship you want, it's not necessarily 100% your fault. It could be some energetic imbalances and some trapped energies that are really ruling the show that you don't even know. Energies get trapped when we're imbalanced. We're imbalanced because we're human and we're just walking around on this earth trying to survive. Hopefully some of this resonates with you, and hopefully you can understand that there are ways that we can help you release this energy and get you back into balance, even if you just get your own thoughts neutral, get that want down like we just discussed. Honestly, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is really just kind of the broad strokes of it all. I could go much more in depth with all of this, but if this is something where you want to get more detailed and you want to learn more, I'm going to start holding free webinars where we will talk about topics like this for a little bit. And then I'll open up the floor for you guys to ask questions about energy work or anything that's going on in your life. And I can give you the perspective that might help you move forward, because we're all designed to be able to heal. And that isn't just our physical bodies, that's mentally and emotionally. And also, we all just deserve to be loved. And you're deserving of it. And the relationships are there waiting for you. We've just got to get you to a place where your energy is ready to accept them. As usual, if you guys have any questions, you can always DM me on Instagram. You can email me at kate@katepatra.com. I'll put things in the show notes for you. And if you want notifications about the webinars, you can fill out your name and email so that you can get those notifications, just so that you don't miss them. And that way you can attend if you want. They will be available on recording. If you're not able to attend, they'll be available for the week afterwards. All right, my friends, as always, it's been a joy, and I really appreciate you listening to me and being patient with me as I explain things, and being accepting of all that I share with you, because you're going to continue to learn more and more about me. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.